I'm going to start the recording now. Sorry, Hazim, I forgot. Okay, so we have another one. Students are able to achieve the outcomes of the lesson, and it's student-centered. Okay. OBE is the method to base our teaching around the outcomes that we set for the course. Very good, students, everyone. Yeah. Okay, one more. How to quantify learning, taking an abstract experience, understanding how well students learn through measurements of learning outcome. Also, an understanding of facilitator accountability and awareness of students' multiple intelligence. Many things there to ponder, yeah. Many things there to consider, but very good points, everyone, very good. So it seems like you have learned a lot from Gabriel last week, yeah? Great. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so just to summarize from what you have written, outcome-based education is actually a model, yeah? And it focuses on what students can actually do after they are taught to do something, okay? So this is based on the student-centered learning philosophy. One of you mentioned there about student-centered, and it focuses on empirically measuring, which someone also mentioned there, measuring the performance, which we here call it as outcomes. Okay, you want to assess the performance. So the whole idea of this outcome-based education is really focusing on the learning outcomes, not on the topics that you list out in your syllabus. Okay, all right. So this is kind of like, I think it could be a major shift for many of us, yeah, because previously, I guess most of us, the way we were taught previously is very much on topic. But now, whenever you get your subject that you need to teach, you first have to look at the outcomes instead of the topics. Okay, and when you are assessing, you're also going back to the outcomes instead of the topics. Okay, all right. So what is the one most essential element in OBE then? Okay, going back to your Menti just now, the same one. If you did not close your page, the question should appear already. Okay, what is the one most essential element in OBE? Okay, we have PLO, we have outcomes. Okay. Planning the PEO. Okay. Having evidence. Anything else? CLO. Still, everybody seems to be giving an almost quite quite around the same thing, but not exactly the same thing. But I'm actually glad to see that you have things like ELO, CLO, PO. At least you know what are all these things, yeah? Okay, great. So what do you think is the most, the closest answer to it? From all the ones that you see there. What is the essential element?
From the option, I think it's not my answer, but I think it's evidence.
Evidence. Okay, it's not your answer.
But I was like, oh yeah, that's true as well.
All right.
Because that will tell us, what the students can really do after they are taught. If we go back to the
So the evidence is actually
like the final outcome of what OBE intend to do. Like that's what we should evaluate.
So it's the final outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it goes back to the outcome. Right? Okay. So in OBE, learning outcomes are the key. But I know some of you just now wrote PLO, CLO. Those are also outcomes. Yeah. Okay. Outcomes. Basically outcomes. And like what Fiona just now was explaining here, she see that, oh, maybe evidence is correct, but yet when she explained again is the outcome. Ultimately is the outcome. Okay. That's the thing that drives everything in this OBE model. Okay. And so today, what is our learning outcome? Since I'm going to talk to you about learning outcomes, we better have learning outcomes for the session as well, yeah? So at the end of today's session, I hope that you'll be able to differentiate these four things here, okay? PO, PLO, CLO, LO. They're actually not the same. Okay, some of you mentioned it just now. Yeah? We're going to talk about the learning domains, yeah? And finally, I hope at the end of this session, you'll be able to write appropriate learning outcomes that is suitable to your course, or rather your intention for the course, okay? And they have to be measurable, okay? So then my next question is, what is learning outcome now? So we know just now you said outcome is the key, right? But what exactly is learning outcome? Okay, going back to the same Mentimeter thing just now. You should see your screen there with this question. Just switch. Okay. What students can actually do after they are taught, all right? Okay, good. Any more? It is a guide to define the knowledge and skills that students should achieve at the end of the course. Okay, the skills the students should know and master from the courses based on the industrial needs. Interesting. Okay. Any more? What students can do at the end of the course? Okay. this? Okay, seems like most of you kind of like get the idea of what learning outcome is, yeah? Okay, great. So let's look at this now. It's a bit slow in the connection. Okay, so learning outcomes are actually statements. Yeah, if you have seen your COPA documents, you will see that there are actually statements. And what do? They describe what learners are able to do after a period of learning. And for us, most of our courses usually, 12 weeks? Yeah, okay. So it's basically what they can do after 12 weeks. Of course, there are some courses where you have like a longer duration. Okay, so basically there is a defined duration for the students, and then you would want to measure it at the end of it, whether they achieved or did not. So examples are, so here you have, I mean by a period of learning, yeah, you have up upon completion of the lesson. Okay, so there is a period of learning. What can the students do? The students will be able to explain Ohm's law, and this is what the students are able to do. Okay, another example, upon completion of the workshop, again, there is a duration of time. Yeah, it could be a 10-hour workshop or a 3-month workshop. And then what can they do? They'll be able to perform the cha-cha-cha dance. Or upon completion of the course, which is very something that we all usually use, yeah, the students will be able to demonstrate confidence in public speaking. All right, so usually in the learning outcomes, there must be a period of learning, and that's always defined when we write upon completion or blah, 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 as you can see in your documents, right? Okay. Now, this is the outcome-based model, okay? Have you seen this before? Were you shown this in the previous session?
Not in this exact figure, but it was like a flow chart.
Oh,
that,
flow chart. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a flow chart. Okay. So, okay, this is the outcome-based education model. All right. So you see that there is the university vision and region, right? Then you have the school vision and region. So something like you are from hospitality, right? So you have UOW Malaysia here, and then School of Hospitality and Tourism Art here, okay? And then you have your program educational objectives. So program would be like Bachelor of Culinary Arts, right? You have what else? Bachelor of Hotel, Tourism Management, something like that, right? So those are the program. And then under your program, you will have your program outcomes. And then under your program, you will have many courses. You will have your course outcomes, okay? And then you will have your lesson learning outcomes, and finally your assessments. Okay, so when we talk about building our course outcomes, all right, or rather building the outcome for our students, where do you think the flow should go? Is it top down, bottom up? How does it work?
Top down.
You think it's top down? The rest of you think it's top down or bottom up? When we want to build it. Top down. Okay. Top down. We have two persons saying top down. Anybody else? It's a bit internet connection. Right, top down. Why Xiong also say top down? All right. Okay, top down. We shall see afterwards, yeah, top down or not. Okay, when we talk about looking at students' attainment or achievement, how do you think it goes? From where? How do we help the students to achieve the outcomes? From where do you think we should start? If we want to help the students to achieve learning outcomes, where do you think it should begin? From which level? Any idea?
We interact with the students at the course level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we are talking about helping the students to achieve the course learning outcome,
So you see,
I would, because that is where we would actually have contact with the students.
okay, so you would choose here.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we have a few responses here. So Evelyn says helping the students to pass exams, which is here, assessment. Then we have Dr. Tang says that it's the LLO. The Beyond says PEO. Wai Xiong says CO, which is same as you and I, everybody having different answers. Interesting, yeah? Okay. So, but when we want to, it's not working properly. Okay. When we want to look at students' attainment of outcomes, we usually begin from the bottom, which of course we will need to run assessments because we need to measure. Okay, now before we can do the measurement, we need to work on the lesson learning outcomes. Okay, and we shall see afterward. How is lesson learning outcomes different from course outcomes? I think many of you are very familiar with course outcomes. Maybe because every time MQA come, right, ask you course outcome, course outcome, course outcome. And then when you do assessment plan also, course outcome, course outcome, course outcome. Every time it's course outcome. When you do your EOS, it's also about course outcome, course outcome, course outcome. But actually, your lesson learning outcome is also very important because that will drive your course outcomes. If your lesson learning outcomes are not able to support your course outcome, you will find that it's very difficult somewhere along the line, how come I teach like this, still cannot achieve the course outcome. And then eventually, of course, it will affect all the other things. Okay? This looks familiar to you? Have you been shown this? Maybe not exactly this picture, but this whole cycle here. Does it look familiar to any one of you? These are the 4 stages in OBE. Okay, we begin here, where we talk about what are the LO that we intend for the students. What is it that we want students to achieve? Okay, and then after that, we talk about how can we best help the students to achieve the outcomes. So this is what we do in our classroom, or what we do in our synchronous or asynchronous session. Okay, and then after that, we will test and see. Yeah, we will measure whether the outcomes are achieved or not. And does that end there after we measure? No, we will have to reflect and see what went well, what helped the student to achieve the outcomes, what didn't go so well, why didn't this thing that I do help the students to achieve, okay, what is it, what is wrong, And then think about how you can kind of like rectify all those issues before you go back to the first stage. Can you name all these stages here? All right. Can you name all the stages? You can type into the chat box, or you can tell me.
I think it's similar to what Gabriel showed us
Yeah.
last week. Like they start from the planning stage.
Okay, so the first one is the first stage is the planning stage. Okay, right? So this one is the planning stage. Then the second one. Second one, anybody?
Conducting lesson.
Yeah, conducting lessons, but what do we call it? We usually use the word delivery.
Delivery.
Yeah, okay, it's the delivery stage. And then the third one,
Assessment.
right? That's the assessment. And lastly, the last one is
CQI. Yeah.
CQI. Okay, that's where you do your EOS and everything. Okay, so you evaluate how well the semester has gone. What are the different techniques or strategies that you've tried, and you look at the achievement of the CLO. Some badly achieved, some super well achieved, like what's wrong, what happened, and that's when you do some reflection and you try to tweak it in the next semester. Sometimes it could be also because the CLOs are written not correctly, and that caused your delivery to kind of like difficult, and that also maybe lead to assessments that are not suitable, okay, and that causes it, and that's why you need to actually reflect properly and see whether the CLOs are, able to help us, not able to help, whether the CLOs are actually really what you want or not, the outcomes for the students. Okay, so these 4 stages are very important, and this part today, we are still at stage 1. Okay, we are talking about the learning outcomes. Stage 1 is usually really important. Some people say, what's the point of planning when you know that most of the time plans don't go well? But then sometimes if you don't plan, means it's like you are just planning to fail. Okay, yeah, sometimes you plan for something and things may not go according to your plan, but yet you need to have a plan. Because if not, then you don't know which direction you're going, and you also cause your students to lose their direction. So that's why it's really important at this stage that you plan really well and be very, very clear. Where do you want to go? What do you expect from this? Okay, so that your students will also know very clearly that this is what they need to do at the end of the course. This is what they need to achieve. Okay, so it's actually a very important stage. Yeah. So able to do what? So that means to say, how do you wish to transform the students? Right? Just now you say that, you want the students to be able to do something after you teach them. So how do you wish to kind of like change them, transform them? So at the end of the period of learning, we want our students to be able to do what? So remember, I was telling you about period of time and what they need to do. So basically, our CLOs are generally in these 3 different ways. Yeah. One is you want them to demonstrate what kind or what level of knowledge. Okay, and that's usually very cognitive. Or you want them to demonstrate what kind of skills. Yeah, to be able to fold a paper aeroplane, or to be able to design the interior of a room, okay, or to be able to cook pasta, whatever kind of aglio e olio kind of pasta, that kind of thing, okay? So that would be a lot about psychomotor, things that they can do. And the third one is, what sort of behavior or attitude do you want them to have? Yeah. And actually, of all these three here, this is the most difficult. Okay, because this really talks about the person's internal, and it's something that is pretty hard to measure. Okay, yeah. But this is also something that we all should be looking at, because remember just how we said about how do we wish to transform our students. Okay, so cognitive psychomotor is one way of transforming our students. But this part is also very important in terms of transforming our students, especially nowadays. If you can see, this generation that we have now, the new generation, they are not quite the same as who we used to be, right? Well, that could be due to the generation gap. It could be due to all the many external factors, with technology, with the exposure, with internet and all, right? But all these external things that are happening are actually the reason why we need to do this even more. We need to teach them how to regulate their emotions and their behavior. Okay, but not every course you can do that. Yeah, it really depends on what courses that you're teaching. Yeah, okay, all right. So a lot of this one will be the MPU courses. Yeah, okay. Right. So in the OBE approach, when designing a new program, whenever we talk about we want to start, okay, now we want to offer a degree in psychology. Okay. The first thing is, what do we need to do? Is the learning outcomes. When they graduate, what is it that they are able to do? All right, so that should be the first thing that you think about when you want to design a new program. And then only you think about what are the subjects, or sometimes we call it courses, and also then the course outcomes that you want to put inside this program to achieve that program learning outcomes. Okay, so whatever that you do, right, it's always the heart is the outcomes, the learning outcomes. Yeah. So what are the different levels of learning outcomes? Just now you mentioned already earlier, somebody said about PLO. So PLO is the program learning outcome. Sometimes also people call it as PO. Okay, just like CLO, sometimes people just call it as CO, the short form. Okay, so PLOs are what? PLOs are upon graduation. Say if, for example, your program, your degree is 3 years. At the end of 3 years, these are the things that they achieve. Okay, that is program learning outcomes. So course learning outcomes is at the end of the course. Like I said, for us, usually it's like about 12 weeks. At the end of the 12 weeks, this is what they achieve. That is the CLO. Okay, and then we have the lesson learning outcomes. Although sometimes they call it topic learning outcomes, but I usually prefer to use lesson learning outcomes, because sometimes for certain subjects, some lessons can link to more than one course outcomes. Okay, it's not just based on the topic. And also in the OBE model, like I said, we usually focus on the lesson learning outcome rather than the topics. We don't really look at the topics so much. Okay, so at the end of your lesson, say for example, every week you have a 3-hour lesson with your students. So for every single 3-hour lesson that you have, right, you should have your lesson learning outcomes. So in your teaching plan, there is a column there for you to write your lesson learning outcomes. The column there, I can't remember column number what, maybe column number 3, I think. It should be, first is the number, then is the topic, then I think it should be the 3rd column, that is the lesson learning outcome. So lesson learning outcome is not course learning outcome. This is what I've observed, because I'm also an internal auditor. When I go to audit other departments, I noticed that many times lecturers actually just plug the course outcomes and put it into that column, into the lesson learning outcome column, which is not supposed to be. The course outcome is actually on top, right? Before that table, So it's not the same thing. So imagine if, let's say, one of your course outcomes is what, maybe to eventually be able to write a business plan or something like that, for whatever company, okay? So in order for your students to be able to achieve that course learning outcome, to be able to write a business plan, you need to design your 12 weeks. You have 12 weeks with them, right? You need to design your 12 weeks in a way that you can help them by stages to develop so that they are eventually able to write a business plan. Okay, so maybe you will need to have, lesson number 1 is about understanding the market. Okay, so your lesson learning outcome is probably to be able to at the end to be able to describe the target audience for the business that that they want to do. Okay. Then the second lesson, maybe you will teach them about, I don't know, the 4 Ps or what, right? When you want to develop a business. Okay, so maybe at the end of this second lesson is to be able to define the 4 Ps for their business. So eventually at the end of the 12 weeks, they put all these things together, they will have the skills and knowledge to be able to write the business plan. And that is the course outcome. You understand the difference, yeah? Okay, all right. So I forget I'm clicking on it. Okay, all right. So now, I'm not too sure what is your understanding of MQF or these domains by MQA, okay? This was previously, I'm just showing you, just in case that you might have some documents which are not updated yet, because I do understand that this updating and transferring into the new domain, right, is happening by stages. So I'm not quite sure whether at which stage you are in. So I'm just showing you so that you are aware that this is the old one, okay? This is MQF 1.0, where these are the 8 domains. Okay, so this is the new one, which is MQF 2.0, all right? So I believe all programs should have, or if not, should be doing it now to revise your program learning outcomes according to these 8 new domains. Okay, so if you're not quite sure, maybe you will need to ask your program leader or ask your head of department about the programs that you have in your department. Okay, all right. So these are the 8 domains of learning outcome. These are specified by MQA. The first one is knowledge and understanding. The second one is cognitive skills. Then we have practical skills, interpersonal and communication skills, digital and numeracy skills, leadership, autonomy and responsibility, personal and entrepreneurial skills, lastly, ethics and professionalism. They are not very different from the previous one. It's basically just like kind of like rewording some and just grouping some differently only. It's not very different, yeah. Okay, so you might just have to tweak a little bit here and there for your program. Okay. So we have looked at course learning outcomes just now, yeah, and below that I also explained to you lesson learning outcomes. Then we have program learning. Oh, sorry, this is program learning outcomes. My typo here. Program learning outcomes. And what about program educational objectives, PEO? Somebody mentioned just now PEO. What exactly is PEO? It's not the same thing, yeah. Program learning outcomes, these are outcomes, they are not objectives. Program learning outcomes and program educational objectives, they are different. If you were to look at your program, the COPA document, the tick book all, you will see one set is program educational objectives, another one is program learning outcomes. What is program educational objectives? Anyone? Anybody?
The type of graduates we want.
Oh, yes, the type of graduates that we want, but isn't that like we have PLO?
But PLO is what to drive to achieve the PEO, right?
Yes, you are right. Okay. So PEO is actually something that we want students to be able to be or to do 3 to 5 years after their graduation. Okay. So PLO, just now we talk about PLO, right? PLO is when they graduate, okay, then after 3 years, at the end of the 3rd year is PLO. Okay. Then 3 to 5 years later down the road, that would be the PEO. Okay. So why do we need to have PLO and PEO? Why is it that we want to have PEO also? We do actually have some testings to see whether we achieve PEO or not as well, but it's not very, I don't think they do it in a large scale, okay? But we do have some surveys done. What's the point of the PEO?
Make sure our program is relevant to what the industry needs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we want to make sure that we are producing graduates that eventually really able to meet the demands of the industry. Okay, so I'm sure you know that many students that we have here come and do degree, example, bachelor in culinary arts, example, okay? Finish 3 years, achieve PLO or not? Yes, know how to cook, know how to plan menu, know how to budget, know how to set up restaurant, they understand all these things, okay? But 3 to 5 years later, you meet them, what do? They are Grab drivers. Why? Well, sometimes it could be due to unforeseen circumstances, for example, the pandemic. But many a times it is because, oh, I cannot get a job. I cannot seem to face the challenges in the industry, in the restaurant, very stressful. I cannot take it, that kind of thing. So then it goes back to when we were designing the program, did we actually train the students to learn how to handle this kind of a stress in the restaurant? Okay, did we actually really cultivate the right attitude for them to survive in the industry? Did we really get them ready for it or not? To make sure that they are relevant for their job. Because eventually, if we keep on Yeah, we can produce graduates, yeah, bachelor in whatever. What did I do? Okay, if we can keep on producing graduate, but 3 to 5 years down the road, they are not doing the thing that they have, they specialize in, then eventually it becomes like our program got no value because it doesn't serve the needs of the market. So eventually then you will see that student number keep on going down, then the program die. Okay, so that is why it's really important to know what is the PEO and to measure and see that we are achieving it or not. Yeah, okay, right. It's a bit slow to come over to here. Here change already, they also change, but okay. So program educational objectives is what you want the graduates to be able, to still do in their life 3 to 5 years after their graduation. So these are usually very broad statements, yeah, very broad statements. And there are generally 3 to 5 statements, and you should see it in the document. Yeah, if you look at your COPA and all, you will not see it. You need to get that thick book, okay, that chunk of thing that you probably have to ask from the program leader or the head of department. Okay, yeah, and each PEO should have definable key competencies. So there must be defined key competencies. So I'm going to just show you some. Yeah, these are some PEOs from other universities. Okay, this is just give me a minute because Fiona cannot see yet. Okay, it's a bit slow over this side for her. Okay, so Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering Technology. So these are the PEOs that have 4. To produce graduates who attain gainful employment and practice successfully in mechanical related engineering technology professions. So they would want to produce a graduate in this and eventually still continue in this mechanical related engineering technologies, not go and char kway teow by the roadside. Okay? To produce graduates who remain technically current and adapt to rapidly changing technologies through continuous learning and self-improvement. We also want them to, technology and things keep changing. So we want to ensure that our graduates also have this lifelong learning, ability in them to continue learning even though they have left the university. Okay? To produce graduates who demonstrate independent thinking and function effectively in teams to solve open-ended problems in industrial environment. So again, you see this is all very broad. This can be like applied to many other degrees also, right? Basically is they are able to function in the workplace, okay? All right, they are not like sitting at home, isolated from society and not doing anything, yeah? And last one, to produce graduates who communicate effectively and perform ethically and professionally in business, industry, and society. And again, this is about them being effective in the workforce, okay? And not just sitting around, yeah? This is another one, Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering. So again, you will see that this is about professionalism, this is about continuous personal development, and this is societal engagement. You can see the same, almost the same pattern as the previous one, right? Yeah, so these are what we call it, the key competencies. Okay? So far, any questions? No questions? Okay. All right. So like I have explained just now, PLO is actually to support the PEO. All right. So after you have your PEO already, then you would write your PLO. And these are the outcomes when they graduate. So usually there are 6 to 10 program outcomes for each program. Usually, yeah. It really depends. You got to also look at your program standard for some guide, yeah. Okay. But we will always suggest that it's easiest if you remember just now I showed you the 8 domains. Yeah, it will be the easiest if you just create one PLO for each domain. Okay, but then again, like I said, you got to also refer back to your own program standard because sometimes there are certain recommendations that you would need to follow. Okay, right. So sample of PLO for a design program. So you see here, you will have at the end of this program, okay, like the course learning outcome, you have at the end of this lesson, at the end of this course, sorry. So at the end of this program, students are able to apply and demonstrate design knowledge and skills in creative media design projects. Okay, so this is about the practical skills and all, right? At the end of this program, students will be able to relate and discuss the latest trends, techniques through their research and projects. At the end of this program, students will be able to communicate with clients and colleagues effectively and with respect. At the end of this program, students will be able to display social awareness and integrity that adhere to the professional code and design ethics of the industry. Okay, so these are, if you compare the PLO to the PEO just now, you can see that this is a little bit more narrow, right, compared to the PEO. Okay, right. My next question, who determines the learning outcomes? Any idea? Who says it? Okay, so now I'd like you to get into groups. Actually, there are like not many of you here. So I would suggest to have just all of you together. Wait, let me see. How many of I have like minus myself, yeah. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of you. Okay, plus 2, 7. So I can have 2 groups. Yeah. So I'm going to split you into 2 groups. You can use my computer.
Or I can just join.
Yeah, you can just.
Yeah, as well.
It's okay. You can just come in here.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to split you into 2 groups, 2 breakout rooms. Yeah, and I'd like you to think about this. Who are the people involved in crafting the PEO and PLO? Who do you think they are? And what sources of information are needed in order for you to write this PEO and PLO? So in your group, discuss this, okay, these 2 questions, and come up with some reasonable answers. And then after that, I'd like you to share with everyone. Okay? All right. I think I'll give you like 5 minutes, not 3 minutes. Okay? Okay, any questions over there? No question, then I will. Okay, ready? I will put you into your rooms already. Okay. You can come over. Wait, see which one is. I think it should be this one.
Hello.
Cannot hear. Oh, okay.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but quite soft, yeah.
Quite soft, is it?
Yeah,
Oh, I think I'm fine because
it's only two of us.
it's not connected. You have to speak louder.
Ah, okay.
It's no mic. I mean not no mic. I use
The
say with the mic.
I see. So now it's just the built-in.
The built-in one is not.
Oh,
I think there should be an. Oh, that's all. There's only two of us here.
only two of us. Okay.
I think so. Yeah, only two of us.
So you present, yeah?
All right.
Okay,
Let's
so
look at the question.
the question is who decide the CRO, right?
Who decides the PEO and PLO?
Okay. The
So
PO should be the head of school and also the ADH.
Yeah,
And
also the
together with the PL lah.
industry advisory panel, right?
Yeah, I forgot what is it called already. Yeah. Then the CRO should be the subject expert lah.
PEO, PLO, same now. Same.
PO, PRO, same, yeah.
And then
And then the CRO is by the respective subject expert.
okay. And then
Yeah.
the sources of information needed in crafting
Sources of
the
information
PEO.
means what, yeah?
I think like if we were to create the PEO, PLO, what kind of information is needed to
I see, with
put them
the
together?
advice from the industry panels.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so normally I remember the process was like we have a meeting with the industry panels to listen to the needs in the industry, and then basing on what they told us in the meeting, then we get the rough idea of what kind of graduates that we should produce.
Yep.
And then only start to draft down all the PRO and the PO and the kind of thing lah. And this thing will then be communicated to the panels of lecturers who involved in that particular program to come up with the respective courses for the program itself. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. And then there's another one about the challenges in designing the PEO and PLO.
The challenges. I think the challenges will be whether we are quite sometimes we are quite unsure that whether are we basing on our education's background and we ignore the part whereby what is needed by the industry at the moment, okay, because all of us are in the educations for years and we have not been in the industry, so we might not know what is the demand in the industry right now. So to get the real pictures of what is needed in the industry, we really have to get quite a number of industry panels to involve to tell us what they actually observe based on the current graduates that they're employed and what are their weaknesses, so that from there we can improve and we can instill those criteria into the new program. Yeah, I think that to me that is the biggest challenge now.
And also maybe creating
whether the syllabus is it relevant to the industry or it is outdated, or we are designing based on the time when we were in the in the university when we were students. Yeah.
Because we have like lost touch with the actual
Yes. Yeah.
and also
I think that is
making sure the courses, like even after crafting the PEO and PLO, making sure that there is like compatibility with the courses, to see whether the courses that we have can actually achieve the PEO and PLO.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's definitely the challenges.
I think that's about it.
Yeah lah. So we can exit the breakout room, is it?
Yeah, can.
Okay, see you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, welcome back, everyone. So, okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So I hope you had a good discussion. So, which group would like to start sharing first?
Yep, we can go first.
Okay, all right. Fiona's group, Fiona and Wai Xiong. All right. So So who are the people involved in crafting the PEO and PLOs?
So we think it's the HOS and also the industry advisory panel
So as industry advisory panel, okay.
coming together to understand what the industry actually needs.
Okay.
So there will be a meeting set up to understand the industry needs and demands, what kind of graduates they would require, and that would assist the school in coming up with the PEO and also PLO, and also some input from the subject experts that we have, the lecturers,
okay, the
lecturers,
faculty. Okay.
yeah, the faculty, yeah. So in terms of people, then these are the people.
Three parties.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the other group? Do you have the same answer? Do you have anything to add? Or different?
Okay, Dr. Tang here. Okay, so basically it's almost the same, but in terms of the sources, we have another one extra, which is the feedback from the graduates as well.
Okay, all right, good. So feedback from the graduates, yeah. So basically it's sort of like also understanding them after, it's like your PO, whether they achieve or not previously, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also like they themselves, for them to feedback, like know what they lack after their work in the industries.
Okay, all right. So you have your students. Any more apart from this?
I think the sources we also need to understand from the top down, like the university's vision, mission.
University's vision and mission. Okay, all right. Okay. Anything else to add? No more? Pretty good. Yeah. Yes, I think you've got all of it, if I'm not wrong. Very good. Okay, now what about the second the second part of it? Like, what kind of challenges would you face when creating this kind of a PO and PLO? What usually do you think?
We feel that it's sometimes on our side as an education provider, there might be a tendency to lean towards like theoretical needs rather than what the industry will require. And even when we communicate with our panel or the faculty, many might have maybe lost touch with the actual industry. So when coming together and formulating that, all the objectives and outcomes, it might be a slightly different from, it might not be accurately relevant to what the industry requires.
Okay, all right.
Maybe that would be a challenge,
okay,
in designing the PEO, PLO.
Looking at just one perspective and not seeing what actually is out there.
Yeah, so even sometimes we have the input, but then we tend to go back onto the theoretical parts and all that. Might slightly like lean the PEO and PLOs towards a direction that might not be as relevant. Yeah, in the industry, yes.
Okay, all right. What about the other group? What kind of challenges have you encountered, or if you have encountered?
No experience in designing these two things so far.
Okay. The rest of the group members? No experience as well. No worries.
I do have one.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. When we were designing PEO and PLO, because usually this I mean, from an institution's perspective, usually PLO is designed by, the admin, basically a few people on the top part, where they actually design that. So of course, when you design that, then not everyone on the management are still teaching, sometimes, so you get out of touch and all that. So you design very nicely, the wordings and all, but when you pass over to the lecturers, those who are actually teaching the subject, to them, it felt like there's a disconnection. So that's definitely one. The other one is because when you design PAEO and PLO, you need to also look at the program standard to make sure that it tallies with it, and whatever that the MOE or MOHE's requirement. But sometimes, guidelines, they're also not always updated as well. So that is also an issue, because perhaps our PEO and our PLO does address whatever the industry requires, but the standards is still probably a few years back, so it's a bit outdated. So there's a mismatch there as well.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. Sometimes there are so many parties involved in it, but if they are not moving at the same pace, doing things at the same time, things can be a bit chaotic, where you are trying to be more relevant to the industry, but yet you are being held back by these regulations, especially the body that is regulating us is MQA. Yeah, I truly see your point. That sometimes can be a bit frustrating, but what to do? They are the ones who give us the license to do things, right? Okay, right. So very good discussion. I think you got most of everything right. Just one of the things that probably was not mentioned by any one of you is, remember the MQF domain that I shared earlier? So that is one important source that you need to look at when you are writing your PLO. Yeah, remember I said that usually PLOs is like about 6 to 10 statements. 6 to 10 statements, and the easiest, like I recommended, is to create one PLO for one domain in that 8 domains of MQF 2.0. But yet again, like I said, go back to your program standard to check whether that is the recommendation for your program. Okay, so now once you have your PO and your PLO done, the next thing that happens is you will look at the curriculum, the courses that you need to put in. What kind of courses will help you to achieve those PLOs? And that will lead to then, what kind of learning outcomes should each course have in order to help you to achieve the final PLO? Okay, and that's something that we are going to look at when we come back from our break. The learning outcomes, how to write them, and make sure that they actually can support your PLO and eventually, get your PEO as well. Okay, we shall take a 15-minute break now. It's now 10:35. We'll come back at 10:50. Is that all right? Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'll see you at 10:50 then.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, right. Let's continue. Okay. So these are our learning outcomes that we have set out for today. So we talk about PO, PLO, CLO, and LLO just now. Can you remember what is PO? Can somebody tell me what is PO?
Program educational objective.
Okay, and what is PO for? What is PO for?
To make sure the students achieve certain objective when they graduated.
Is it upon graduation or what? Five years after graduation. Yeah, beyond says 5 years after graduation. That's right. So it's actually they are doing what they have learned or they have been taught in university, okay, or in that program. So that is PO. What is PLO? Ready? PLO is
The outcomes,
what is PLO?
program learning outcome.
Outcomes, that's right, yeah. And
It is what they are able to do at the end of the program.
yes, at the end of the program, be it at the end of the program means 3 years or 2 years or even 4 years or 5 years, depending on the length of the program. Okay, so it's just when they graduate. Yeah. All right. And CLO, I'm sure all of you are very familiar with, and LLO is
Lesson learning outcome.
lesson learning outcome that is specific only for that particular lesson. Okay, right. So now we're going to look at the domains of learning as we look at how to write the learning outcomes. Why is it not working? Okay, so before we go there, I just want you to have a big picture of the whole thing that we are doing, okay? So we have the student, and then you have the program outcomes, which is, like we said just now, upon graduation, okay? So we want to see, actually, how do we get this student to here, right? So we talk about program outcomes just now. We talk about who is supposed to be involved in, remember, writing or coming up or designing the program outcomes, and also the PEOs. So I talk about MQF, the 8 domains that you should use as a source for you to refer to when you write it. And you also talk to me about the external stakeholders needs, which are the industry, people in the industry. It can also be, you said just now, students' feedback, work, what kind of skills that they are lacking. So those are external stakeholders needs, yeah. And then we have the professional bodies, right? Which you tell me you have your, maybe those who are in architecture, you have your Lembaga Architect Negara, then the accountants, you have your accountancy body, engineering board, and so on. So those are your professional, your advisory also, right? Your advisory panel. And your faculty expertise, well, all of you here, subject experts, yeah? And not forgetting our institution vision and mission. So these are the things that will help you form your PO and your program outcomes. So then, in order to achieve these program outcomes, you will need your courses. And in your courses, you will have your course learning outcomes. And each one should support the program learning outcomes. And under each course, you will have your lesson learning outcomes. Okay? And your student will be getting your lesson learning outcomes, which eventually will help him to achieve the course learning outcomes. And after 3 or 5 years or 4 years, they will be able to achieve the program outcomes. Okay, so this is where your student is, and this is how you help your students get there. So it's really all about, it's really all about outcome, all the way. But it's important for us to understand all these outcomes carefully and how do we break it down here so that our students can be able to get there. Because sometimes if you just like give them one whole chunk, that you will find that it's too overwhelming, not only for your students, for ourselves also, like, wow, to be able to do that is like, sounds so big, right? So how are we going to achieve that? You got to break it down into smaller parts so that it's easier for them to digest. Okay? So therefore, it's important that we at our level lecturers, we understand the courses that we are asked we are assigned to teach. We have to understand the course learning outcomes. Okay, right? So, this is just like repeating what I said just now. It's about, you know, you writing it, making sure that it's upon the completion of, in every document, I'm sure you see this line already, and then you just have to fill in the blanks, okay? Now, generally, there are 3 to 5 course learning outcomes per course. Maybe you have seen previously some courses where they have 8 to 10 course learning. Have you seen that before? I have seen some courses with 8 to 10 learning outcomes. If you look closely, you will find that many are actually lesson learning outcomes. Okay? Things like being able to define concept A, concept B, concept C. Those things can be put as lesson learning outcomes. You don't need to go through a 12-week course just to learn how to define something, right? In order to learn how to define something, you can do it in one lesson, am I right? So that shouldn't be a course learning outcome. Okay, so generally 3 to 5 course learning outcomes is sufficient. Don't write too many also, because we usually only have about 12 weeks. How much can the student do in 12 weeks? Yeah, too much, they get overwhelmed. You also get overwhelmed, right? Okay, and then you say that, oh, not enough time to teach, cannot cover the syllabus and so on. But sometimes need not have so many. Okay, make sure that they are coherent. Okay, it's a coherent set that captures the essential outcomes of the course. That means to say that you cannot have like things that fall down from the sky here, there, left, right, center. Maybe about if it's about maybe about business plan, okay? I mean about business management or whatever. You can't suddenly have one that comes in to say that, oh, they need to develop effective communication skills. Yeah, in a way, when you want to sell your business plan, right? You want to propose, you need to have communication skills, good communication skills. But your course is about a business management course. Does that course outcome fall into that particular course, or should it be actually in another course where it maybe like business communication course? You get what I mean by, you know, it should be coherent, okay, to achieve the essential thing about that particular course. Yeah. Okay. Most importantly, it must be measurable, because at the end of the day, just now remember when I showed you that pyramid thing at the bottom. To know students' attainment, you need to run assessments, and that means you need to measure. So if you were to write an outcome that you cannot measure or cannot be measured at all, how do you know whether your students achieve or not? Students also don't know, you also don't know, nobody knows, okay? So it's very important to make sure that it's something that is measurable. And that's what we are going to look at, okay? Measurable means that the level must be specified, okay? The outcome can be assessed. And always remember, these course outcomes contribute to your program outcomes. If you look, now they have this template where you can actually plot it in, right? Your course outcomes, you can plot it into your PLO. Unlike last time where, it's all over the place, you don't even know this course outcome to what. So now, in a way, MQA has made it very clear for us. We are clearly guided that this course outcome goes into which program learning outcome. So you will see that, oh, okay, everything serves a function. Okay? Right. So remember, the course outcome collectively contribute to the attainment of the program outcome. So it will go all into your 8 or 10 or 6 program outcomes. Each one. If you cannot match the course or the course outcomes into the program learning outcomes, means that that course is not supposed to be in that program. Serve no purpose. Okay, right. So it's really crucial for you to know, as teachers, as lecturers, we must clearly know what are the CLOs that we have in our course, because these are the outcomes that we have, we plan to, like I said just now, is the direction that you are heading. If you are not sure of the direction that you're heading, then how are you going to get there? How are you going to teach? Okay? You will be doing things left, right, center, students also here and there, left and right, and then at the end of it, you don't know where you are. So you got to know where you are heading. The CLO is your destination, and that will drive you there. Okay, and that will help you to get your students there as well. Yeah. Okay. So first, when it comes to writing learning outcomes, you must understand which PLO does the course map to. So if you have this course here, business ethics. So this one match to which PLO? You have so many PLO. You need to find out, okay? So again, I can say if you are not sure, go and ask the PL or the HOD to find out. Or if it's a new program, then you all should have a committee to decide where does it map to, okay? Then, what do you want the students to be able to do upon completion of the course? Think about the big picture first, before you start writing everything here. What is it that you want the students to be able to do at the end of it? Okay? Now, all these are then translated into that COPPA document, which now we call it a table 4. It's the Excel sheet with a lot of log cells already now, so that I think MQA also get very frustrated because everything is all over the place, yeah. So now they log most of the cells now. So everything is there. Once you have this big picture and then start writing your MQA document, okay? The MQA document is actually very important. Whenever you are assigned to teach a course, first thing is look at the syllabus table 4. Okay? Not ask your colleague who has taught the course before and pass you all the notes and then just look at the notes and start teaching. No. Okay? Of course, you can ask your senior or your colleague to pass you her materials, but you yourself must have a look at that COPPA document and make sure that when you do that, you get the latest one. Because over the years, we do have revision and revision after revision. Latest one that we are using. Like you mentioned just now, you said that you have advisory board, you have some meeting discussions with the panel, get to know the industry, what is needed. So usually from all these meetings, which you are right, you said that it's usually the head of department or the head of school who will organize such discussion. And most of the time after this discussion, what happens is they will bring back some of these things and tell the faculty, and you might make some changes in your syllabus to enhance it. And so that's when you actually revise your table 4, okay? So make sure you're using the latest one and not the old one. So look at it, understand the course learning outcomes that is stated there. Okay, and then only you look at the materials, whether you can use those materials to help you to guide the students to the outcome. Okay, all right, so never forget that, yeah. So look at the course objectives, the course outcomes. Also make sure, remember to look at the delivery methods. There's a column for the delivery methods, as in like, is it lecture, tutorial, practical, lab, or field work or anything like that, depending on the course. Assessment methods is also something that is important, because remember, as a teacher, you need to measure the student. So you need to understand how the students will be measured, so that as you're doing your planning, then eventually, of course, your teaching and learning activities. So those things will actually guide your students to that measurement, that whatever tool that you're using, okay? Prepare them to be measured in that way. Yeah, so imagine if you do not know, actually the assessment method could be like, for example, they need to eventually have create a project, and they had to actually run the project, okay, execute it. But if you are not aware that they're supposed to do that, but you were just teaching them the theory about, oh, to run the project, you need to do this. And you thought that you're going to just give them an essay to write. Then at the end of the semester, suddenly you found out, oh my God. So that's going to be a huge problem, yeah? Because you already come to the end of the semester and you had no project. Okay, so assessment methods are also important to look at. Of course, the topics, yeah, the syllabus, and the student learning time. You all know what is student learning time, right? You understand student learning time, right? You have the defined one where it's like the face-to-face class time, and then there is the one that is the independent one as well. And I think, if I'm not wrong, nowadays you will also see that there is another column where you have the online portion, as in for e-learning, like now that we are doing a lot of virtual classes and all, right? So you can also put the student learning time if you are doing online classes. Okay, all right? So you're going to focus on course learning outcomes today. Yeah. And just to go back to this one, we talked about it earlier. A learning outcome is remember, yeah, is a statement to say what learners are able to do after a period of learning. Okay, so don't forget this. So these are some examples. Not coming on for Fiona. You but not doing. Okay, so just to recap, to refresh, yeah. Period of learning, what they can do. 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 Must always have this. Okay? Right. Okay, so what is a period of learning? I think I mentioned earlier just now. It could be after your lecture, after your lab work, or after a workshop like this, okay? Or after completing a semester, or upon graduation. And this is the ELO already. Yeah, okay? After a lecture, that will be called a lesson learning outcome. Very good. So after completing a semester, it is a one semester course learning outcome. That's right. Okay. Okay, everybody's still with me then. Okay, this one just testing and see whether you're still with me or not. Okay, right. So I think I showed you this earlier also, if you all remember. Whenever we write learning outcomes, we think about what kind of knowledge or what level of knowledge that we want students to have. Or we want to see what type of skills, right? Or what sort of behavior. What domain of learning is this one, the first one?
Cognitive.
Cognitive, very good. Okay, second one, what is it? What domain of learning is it?
Psychomotor.
Psychomotor, yeah, very good. And the last one? What is it? Behavior, attitude. Behavior, attitude, what is it?
Affective.
Affective, that's right. Okay, so you have cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. So these are the 3 learning domains. Okay, the 3 learning domains, yeah? Cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. If you look at your assessment plan, at the bottom there, you can also see that 3. Are you all aware of that? Yes, sir? Okay, all right. So I'm not going to do this already. I'm just going to skip this. Okay. So these are the domains of learning. Cognitive means it's about thinking skills, yeah, problem solving skills, basically using your brain. Okay. Then you have your psychomotor skills, which is the physical, using your hand and everything. Okay, like fixing a car tire. Okay. Making a bed for those in hospitality, make a bed, that kind of thing. So those are physical activities. And affective is something to do with your emotions. And these are usually like those courses like teamwork and community, the MPU. Those are more to affective skills. The other one will be the global social responsibility. Those are also very effective phase. Okay, not so much of testing whether they can think and problem solve. Of course, in the course also, you want to plan an event. You still have to use some cognitive skills, but the major part that we are looking at is more on the affective. So you need to know your course. What is it? Is it more cognitive, more affective, or more psychomotor? Sometimes in a course can be a combination. Okay, they can be cognitive and also psychomotor, can be cognitive and also affective, can be just cognitive also possible, especially year 1, semester 1, usually very theoretical one, right? Those are most of the time cognitive. Okay, but as they go up further, especially for diploma courses, there will be more psychomotor. Compared to degree will still be quite cognitive. Okay, all right. So far, all right, yeah. Okay, now just to remind you, yeah, when I said that in a course, you can actually have more than one domain, but that doesn't mean that in one course learning outcome, you have more than one domain, yeah. One course learning outcome is only one domain. So if your course got like maybe 3 course learning outcomes, okay, then you might have 1 that is cognitive, 2 that is cognitive, 3 is psychomotor. But cannot have 1 cognitive psychomotor, cannot like that, okay? Only 1. All right, yeah, just to make sure that you are clear on that. Now, what about their taxonomies? Their taxonomies, the ones that we use to measure all these things. Anybody? Cognitive, what do we use?
Bloom's taxonomy.
Yeah, Bloom's taxonomy. That's the one that is the widely used one, yeah, and applied to almost everything. Okay, so yeah, that's correct. So usually for, I'm so scared that I trip over this thing. Okay, so for cognitive, we use the Bloom's taxonomy. For psychomotor, when we are looking at the skills, okay, physical skills, we use the Simpson's taxonomy, and for affective, we use the Krathwohl's taxonomy. Okay, so what are all these taxonomy? Again, if you look at your assessment plan, at the bottom, it's already there. But you need to understand what are there also. Okay, there as in, what I mean is like, it's written for you. 1 is what, 2 is what, 3 is what, 4 is what. Okay, the different levels. So Bloom's, I think I don't need to talk about it much because I guess everyone is very familiar with it. Okay, where we have the, what do you call this, bottom one and the upper one? We usually cut this into half. The bottom one, we call it as the
Lower level.
Lower level, okay, the lots, lower order thinking skills, okay, and the higher ones are the
Higher order.
HOTS, higher order thinking skills. And what is it that we want? Which one that we want to focus?
Depending on the course and also the level of study.
Yeah.
Diploma.
But most of the time for course learning outcomes, where do you think we want it to be? For course learning outcomes. Do we just keep the course learning outcomes here? What are we aiming for, especially for tertiary? We're talking about tertiary education. Yeah. What is our aim? Anybody over there? What is our aim for our students? Do we want them to just remember? Okay, Tang says evaluate. Yeah. Ideally, we would like to focus from apply to create. Okay, we want to focus on the higher level. Okay. Best is, of course, they are able to create. Okay, especially for degree, it should be here. Analyze, evaluate, create. Especially for, let's say, you're talking about year 3, it should be all here already. Okay, for diploma, maybe still, around here, but there should be some that is to create already. Okay, yeah. But does that mean to say that these two here we can just throw away? Should we just like forget about this, remember, understand, no need to do what? Do you think that we should just throw these 2 away?
No, we shouldn't.
Why?
Because we need that in order for them to progress through the levels.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, no matter okay, before we can get to the HOTS, we must make sure that they have the lots, because that serves as the foundation. Okay, if they cannot remember things, they won't be able to understand it and they won't be able to apply it, and then they cannot progress already. So we need to make sure that their foundation is good. But of course, at the tertiary level already, we shouldn't be having this focus on this so much already as the course learning outcomes. This one here could be 1 or 2 of your lesson learning outcomes. Remember just now I talked about the one defined concepts and this and that. That is very much to just remember. At the end of the course, would you want to put the course learning outcomes as defined concept A, B, C? Or do you want them to be able to apply concept A, B, C in, I don't know, whatever situation? Do you see the difference? Yeah, okay. Because this, to be able to define, it should just be your lesson learning outcome. Okay, because at tertiary level, you want them to be able to have higher order thinking, okay? And let's say if you talk about maybe diploma level, okay lah, maybe you put them until to be able to apply the concept. But if it's maybe if it's a degree, right, they should be able to create something based on these concepts. Okay? So far, okay, clear? Any questions? You all okay? Over there, okay? Yeah, right. Okay, good. So these are some action verbs and the activities that you can use in your classroom to help your students to achieve the learning outcomes that you want. Okay, so you see, like just now what I said about create, right? You will be doing this kind of things in class. Okay, all right. If you are just thinking about asking your students to be able to define, these are the things that you will do. Which just now, remember earlier when we talked about, I asked you what is OBE and all, one of the things that you mentioned to me was student-centered. Okay, student-centered, right? So tell me if lecture is student-centered or not. No, yeah, no. Okay, talking about student-centered and teacher-centered is going to be another session of training already, okay? But I just want to kind of like make you aware that OBE, yes, is a very student-centered model, yeah. So we don't really focus so much on this. You not entire like 12 weeks, you know, you just focus on this. So we want to move towards this. Okay, all right. This is a newer, not so small. This is a newer way of looking at what you call Bloom's, okay, on how you can write your questions. This is particularly useful, yeah, if you are doing your all those like class tests or your midterm tests or even your final assessment. Okay, these are the questions that you should be using, or even your class activities if you want to help them to develop this. Okay, all right. So you can actually find this online, but I think later on I can also pass my slides to Hazim and he will send it to you also that you all can refer to it. Yeah, okay. Right, so we talked about Bloom's just now, right? And Bloom's is very cognitive. Okay, so this one actually comes from one of the MQA's document, which they have given it to us, yeah. So if you are looking at the cognitive domain, then if you are thinking about, let's say, this one is very long ago, that is why you see the terms that they use is the old one, not the revised one. But you still can use the words here, yeah. Synthesis is actually creating, yeah. They have stopped it already, but you still can use it here. So you will see that, okay, example analysis, these are the words that you would use, the action verbs that you use, and these are the things that you will ask your students to do. Okay, just to explain to you how the thing works. So for psychomotor, you will have perception, set, guided response, mechanism, complex overt response, adaptation, and origination. So if you look at the flow of it, right, it's somewhat similar to Bloom's taxonomy, where you start from the very fundamental to be able to perceive things, as in understand and see things, and slowly you move to, you are able to adapt to things, take and modify, to be able to originate, create things. But these are more to say psychomotor. Okay? Then for affective, you will have receiving phenomena, responding to it, valuing, organizing, and then finally internalizing. So again, you will see that it's actually very similar to taxonomy. From a very fundamental thing, as in very passive, you just kind of like absorb the thing, to you being the active person in it, where you are, able to generate something. Okay, from able to again perceive and receive whatever things that you see, feel it inside here, okay? Then being able to produce a response, you see it, you feel it, and then how do you respond? Yeah, you do something about it or not, okay? To valuing it, to understand the value of what you are doing and what you're seeing. And finally, to internalizing it, meaning to say that it becomes like your sort of like your second nature already. It's a normal thing to you, okay? So that if that happens, that means that they have achieved that effective thing. Yeah, they are able to, when they see somebody in pain, they are able to just empathize and help, and or rather than just stand there and look, no response, haven't reached. Okay, so that's how the each of the domain works. Okay, so final questions or not? So similar, yeah. These are the words that you can use. Yeah, okay. Right. So going back to the 8 domains, yeah, when you want to write your CLO, remember I said CLO, you need to know it goes into which PLO. So again, it goes back to the 8 domains. So from there, you need to understand, because each of the domain, right, it will tell you whether is it cognitive, is it affective, or is it psychomotor. Okay, so understanding that, then you will know that where is your focus? Is it cognitive, affective, or psychomotor? And then after that, you need to think about what action work. I showed you just now a lot of examples for each of the domain, each of the taxonomy, the action work. Okay, what is the action work that you want to use? And think about what is the content the work is meant to address. If it's to create what? Okay, if it's to analyze what? Yeah. Then what is the context of that particular discipline? Okay, is it nursing? Is it culinary, or is it a business context? What are you looking at? Okay, so that you can actually match the verb properly. Okay, so the CLO actually addresses all these things. What usable or useful expertise your students should be able to perform at the end of it. Yeah, what particular topic is important for you to be able to help your students to achieve this outcome. Okay, and that is why you actually plan your CLO first. Then you look at your what topics you want to put inside to help the students to achieve. Not topics first, then only write CLO. Yeah. Okay. What level to teach? Like I mentioned just now, it really depends. Diploma, degree, first year. You know, if it's the first year, then you might need to lower the level a little bit. But if it's a third year degree one, then it has to be a higher level. Okay. And of course, knowing all this, then it will drive you to how to teach, which that will be the second stage of OBE already. Okay. Now, as a good CLO, yeah, or a good LO should have 3 things. Do you know what are 3 things? I mentioned some already.
Measurable.
Okay. Anyone there?
Verb.
Yeah.
The action verb.
The action verb. Okay, good. Anyone over there? The challenges of teaching online, you don't know whether they are there or not. Response. Okay, never mind. Okay, the first one is action verb. Okay, it must have an action verb. So example is like identify, describe the process, compare the strengths and the weaknesses. So you must have the action verb. Number 2, you must have the condition. How for this thing to happen? right? Remember just I talked about, I say, is it a business setting or hospitality or culinary, is put in the kitchen or whatever, okay? How are they supposed to do it, okay? So you have the action verb, you see, search information, okay? Search information can be many ways now, can be in the library, or can be in an open space, right? So where is it? They must search it on the internet using Google search. Even if you use search on the internet, there are so many different ways of searching for information. So you have to specify what condition is it. So you want them to write a report. So write is the action verb, correct? Okay. What is the condition? They must use Harvard referencing stuff. There's so many types of referencing, right? So this is the condition that they have to fulfill. Third one is the standard. What standard are you looking for? Okay, what does it mean by that? What is considered acceptable? The level of performance. Yeah. So you want them to perform, know how to calculate something, okay, numeric division. You can calculate numeric division, but it has to be accurate within 2 decimal places. So if they give you 1 decimal place, that means still never really fully achieve the learning outcome. You want them to write an essay. You have to state what is the standard. 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs is also essay. But how long is the essay? 100 words can also be considered an essay. 1,000 words also can be considered an essay. But what is the standard that you're looking for? Okay, so 3 things: action verb, the condition, and the standard. These are the 3 things that you must have in your LO. Right, so let's look at this example. You have the verb that is calculate. You have the condition using whatever principle. And then you have the drop per minute, which is again the condition. Here, the micro intravenous infusion. Now, this one is actually a very based on the nursing course. Yeah. So that is also the condition. And what is it based on? That would be the standard. So another example down here, the verb is to be able to write. Yeah. Write. What is the condition? Effective course outcomes that include lower and higher order cognitive skills, and the standard is for a duration of 1 semester. Okay? Okay?
Michelle?
Yeah?
This is the one you just mentioned earlier, that is the CLO or the LLO?
This one, CLO.
All right. Because LLO also looks something similar like this, right?
It can be. LLO is like by the end of the lesson. So sometimes it also depends on the duration. If let's say your lesson is say 10 hours, then maybe you can achieve this. If your lesson is 10 hours, so maybe at the end of 10 hours, you might be able to achieve it. But let's say if your lesson is only 1 hour, challenging, because it depends on the level of knowledge and skills that your students will have also. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what's the criteria for good learning outcomes? Yeah, it has to be smart. Just now you mentioned one of it already. Yeah, which is it must be measurable. Yeah, and first one is to be specific and clear, which just now I showed you already. You need to specify the condition and the standard with the correct action verb. Okay, and it has to be measurable, has to be achievable. So you cannot be setting an outcome that can only be achieved over a year, but you expect your students to achieve in 12 weeks. That's a bit difficult for your students, right? If it's not achievable, and then You measure it, everybody will fail. Okay? It has to be relevant, of course. Like I mentioned just now, if you are talking about a course in business management, then it should everything with business management. If you're talking about a course in hotel hospitality, maybe you know, having what you call that reception etiquettes or whatever, then it has to be about that only. Okay? And it should be time-based. Time-based, as we mentioned just now, a period of time, a period of learning, which is 12 weeks, 1 day, or 3 hours, or what. There must be a time that you specify. Okay, now let's look at some badly written learning outcomes. What are some attributes? Of course, opposite of what we talk about, they are not measurable. Okay. Example, understand the theory of X. How do you measure whether the student understands or not? Can you measure the student understand or don't understand? Know how to write an effective learning outcomes. How do you measure no? Appreciate the importance of keeping the environment clean. How do you measure appreciate? These are very abstract. I think many of you also might have come across learning outcomes like this before. Okay, but in OBE, we do not recommend writing this kind of outcomes because these are considered not measurable. How do we know whether students understand theory of X or not? How do we know is when we ask the students to explain, correct? Yeah. So instead of saying understand, you say the student should be able to explain the theory of X. If they can explain to you the theory of X, then it shows that they can understand. Okay, but if you just say understand, it's very abstract. What is it? Remember we say about it must be measurable. So what is it that they need to show you to tell you that they know? That is the work that you have to write. Know how to write an effective learning outcomes. Know what is it that they need to show. Okay, correct? Okay, so try to remember, yeah, these are some words that you should avoid when it comes to writing learning outcomes. Do not use words like this: understand, know, appreciate, learn, aware, familiar. These are all no. If you send your documents to MQA, all this will be turned down, rejected. They will throw it back to you and ask you to amend. Okay, definitely they won't take all this. There is also other words, but these are the very common ones that they will tell you no. Yeah. Okay. If they are too general or ambiguous. Example, by the end of the course, students should be able to use the computer. There are so many types of computers in this world, right? So which computer? Yeah. Knowing how to operate this kind of computer doesn't mean to say that you know how to operate. This is also sort of like a computer here, right? Yeah, it's a machine, but I know how to operate this, but I may not know how to operate this. Correct? Okay, so it's very, very ambiguous. Make presentations. What kind of presentation? I present the table, put nice piece of cloth is also a presentation. Correct? I present talking like this is also presentation. So what kind of presentation is it? Comment on designs. Again, what kind of design? Very, very general. Also, no. Yeah? Okay. Let's look at these two here. Students will be able to perform research and students will be able to swim. Are they good? Are they good LOs?
No.
No good, yeah. I told you already, no good. Okay, so how do we fix it? What's the problem here? What's the problem with this, the first one?
Too general.
Too general, okay. Second one?
The same as well.
Very ambiguous, right? Know how to swim, I just kick the water. Is that considered know how to swim? Right? So how do we fix it? You can say students will be able to perform research using the internet, and then after that, write reports with proper citation and referencing.
Can we actually do that with the learning outcomes? Like put two different.
The double barrel thing, yeah, I'll talk about it afterwards. Ideally, no. Ideally, no. Actually, this one, right, I would prefer that students will be able to perform research using the internet to write the reports with proper, rather than using the word and. Yeah, you're right. Actually, one of my slides after that will talk about this. When it's double barrel, because you measure this and you cannot measure two things at the same time. Okay? Students will be able to swim 50 meters in a swimming pool using butterfly stroke. So this is how you define it, that it must be butterfly stroke and nothing else, not just like kick water and float like that. Okay, so this is how it should be more specific, not too general. Okay? Okay, okay, now your turn. Look at this one. Students will demonstrate knowledge of the work of nursing theorists for self-care, including the activities of daily living. Any idea how to make it better? How do we make it better?
Apply the work of nursing theory in self-care and daily living activities.
Okay, good try, Dr. Tang. Okay, let's see what is suggested here. Students will be able to, now instead of saying demonstrate knowledge, we usually say students will be able, at the end of the course, students will be able to, upon completion of the course, students will be able to, okay, explain the theoretical basis of nursing theories in relation to self-care and the activities of daily living. But I like the one that was given by Dr. Tang also, to be able to apply. Okay, yeah, very good try. Next one, students will understand how to use technology effectively. Any suggestions?
Many students will be able to use and then to specify the technology that is in question.
Okay, yeah.
Use, if it's nursing, then maybe, I don't know, like the
use a specific
system. Yeah.
For measuring blood pressure, or something like that, right? Yeah. Okay, oops. Students will be able to apply word processing, spreadsheet. All these are actually, the tools that, like maybe under Microsoft, in preparing for their final research project and report. Okay, so it could be a set of technological tools that they need to use so that they can complete their final year project. Yeah, Right, good. You're beginning to see it. Students will develop an appreciation of cultural diversity in the workplace. Idea? Appreciation. What do you think? Not so easy, yeah. This one falls under which domain of learning?
We say demonstrate. Can we use the word demonstrate?
But how would they demonstrate it?
Daily conduct.
Daily conduct. Okay, then you have to think about how you're going to measure their daily conduct. How would you be able to measure it effectively?
Cultural.
So that's why I mentioned to you just now, the effective domain, right, is very tricky. Yeah, it's very tricky, very hard to measure. Yeah, sometimes you, like what Dr. Tang said, in the daily, yeah, of course it's something daily, but then when it comes to the measurement, right, it's actually very tricky. Yeah, how are you going to do it? Okay, so you can actually write something like students will be able to summarize in writing their feelings about cultural diversity in the workplace. So this is something that for courses like we are doing in MPU, like holistic professional development, holistic personal development. Now the new one is global social responsibility, and we also have teamwork and community. We ask them to write reflective reports, talking about what they learn, how they feel about what they learn, how did that experience help them grow as a person, what kind of values that they have learned through whatever experience that they do, like example, an event they participated or an event that they organized. Okay, so usually it's more to reflective writing or a presentation that they do to talk about their feelings. Okay, yeah. Students will be able to understand the economic environment on business and nursing. How should we improve this? How should we improve?
We can ask them to either explain or they present economic factors, specify the factors that would define the environment.
So it's like asking them to
explain so that they can show their understanding in that manner.
Yeah, okay, so they need to explain the economic environment on business and nursing. Yeah? Students will be able to analyze the impacts of the economic environment on nursing as a business entity. Okay, so it's more defined now, right? Okay, so remember, don't use the word understand. Okay. Students will be able to know the 7 steps of the research process. Is it good to use the word know? Yeah. So how do we write this now?
Should replace the word know with maybe the lower level be able to state the 7 steps.
Okay, right. Yeah, if you are talking about the lower level, we will state, or we will a little bit higher, we'll be able to explain Okay, and if you go a bit higher, we'll be able to apply. Okay, so it depends on which level you want to go. Okay, oops. So here it says that to describe. All right. Next one, the student will understand the importance of cell growth and reproduction. How should we rewrite this?
Explain. This one I will say understand change to explain the importance of cell growth and reproduction in maybe human or animals or plants and so on.
Right, exactly. You have to define what context, right? Okay, good, Dr. Tang. The student will be able to explain the importance of healthy self growth and its impact on reproduction on whatever, human or animal or what. Okay? Cool. So now, activity for you before we wrap up the session. So I'm going to put you into your breakout rooms again. Yeah. And this is what I want you to do. I think it's not very clear for you here, right?
But okay, I can.
The screen here is, I don't know why the projection over here is not as clear as what you see here. And after you look at my computer.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So there are 6 learning outcomes here and they are not well written. So I'd like you to go into your groups, yeah, and then talk about why they are not well written, what's wrong with it. Like just now when I went through that few questions with you, okay, and you need to rewrite them so that it is better. Okay? Can? So I'll give you 10 minutes to do this. Yeah? Okay, I'll send you to your breakout rooms. Any questions before that? Over there, are you okay, everybody? Yeah, right. So I'm getting you into your rooms now.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
What to do?
The PowerPoint, right? Okay. We have to fix the
First one.
Yeah, now
wait, one
Principle
moment.
of marketing, able to learn, able to
Okay. Okay, we have to fix the this LOs.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I can't see the slide review.
Oh, she won't be able to see the slide. Okay.
Okay.
So I think the first one, this we can change.
Student will be able to learn the 3 principles of marketing. The easiest one is to apply, lor.
But maybe a little bit more at the end. Principles of marketing. Do we need to add something at the back?
That will be more specific in that particular situations. I don't know what they teach in the subject also.
Apply the
Three
three
principles
principles
of marketing
of
in a
marketing
project proposal, or if you want.
in their business plan or.
Yeah, the business plan, yes. But then once you put the word business plan there, you will lock down forever and ever that your assignment will be a business plan, you know.
Yeah, that's
So
why.
meaning the lecturer will not have the flexibility to
Correct.
to change the assessment. Yeah, unless the person who write that wanted to lock down the assessment
To
forever.
business plan or
Yeah.
business then project or.
I don't know, if for me, I will leave it open.
Leave it open. Okay.
I will leave it open because it is unfair to the lecturer that if I write the table 4 or the COPA and I lock it down as a business plan, then all the lecturers that is teaching, they are not able to change the assignment already.
Yeah.
And forever it has to be a business plan because we lock it down in the LO.
But I guess it also goes back again to the CLO and also the PLO. Like if what they are supposed to learn here is essentially to create a business plan, then that would be fine. But if it is like a general marketing subject that should be applicable widely, then it will be quite restrictive.
Just take as an apply the 3 principles of marketing. Yeah, add or don't add, it's okay now.
Okay. And then the second one.
We'll be able to cook pasta. Oh, wow.
So definitely we have the cook over there, like maybe
cook
or prepare.
Cook pasta. Oh, this one not my specialty. To me, cook pasta is quite straightforward already lah.
Yeah, but maybe just elaborate on maybe the type, maybe. Cook
pasta with
like three basic sauces.
Yeah.
Pasta.
You want to use the word cook or prepare?
I think prepare would be a little bit more.
But prepare, is it an action word? It is, right? To prepare.
Like can a cook also can. It just feels like prepare has a more like from the whole process, like cooking and plating. It covers that.
Including the presentations and everything, I try to find action words. Action word CLO. Finally. See whether I can find cooking words. Oh, there are quite a lot of action words.
But I think prepare is fine for this one.
Yeah, I try to paste in the chat.
Okay.
You're Michelle, right? I sent to Michelle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I found these words.
Oh, but this one very again
Yeah, very specific.
specific.
I don't know what they do in pasta.
I think pasta cannot prepare. Using this. I think we can stay with prepare and then we see what the comment is on.
Yeah, prepare lah.
Yeah.
Chop
Like
slice.
using or with three maybe three basic sauces.
Or cook pasta or prepare pasta with minimum 5 ingredients.
With like at least 5.
Something like that. I don't know.
But still
Not
sounds like
easily.
it.
I don't know whether is it possible to do it or not.
Yeah, but I think
That will
pasta
make
is
it more
defined
specific.
with the sauces. Maybe the sauces then if it needs to be a bit more specific, then like they can put like oil base, tomato base.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Go with the sauces. The
okay.
3 sauces.
Basic sauces. Okay.
Student will be able to know how to write a research paper and create a human-like robot.
So start with write a research paper to create.
Will be able to write a research paper to create a human-like robot.
But sounds like two different
Is it two different things?
Yeah.
After write research paper, then they have to create a human-like robot. Or a research paper is about how to create a human-like robot.
I think if it is one learning outcome, then it is related. Like just now
So the research paper is about human-like robot lah.
Yeah. I assume that's the case.
Student will be able to.
So maybe we change the N to write a research paper to create a human-like robot.
Student is able to write a research paper.
Yeah. So we start with write a research paper.
To write a research paper about human-like robot.
Can or like to create like the research paper is.
If you have the word create there, you have the word create there. I assume that it is like to make a human-like robot, you know. Or it's not about the research paper, is to we write about the human-like robot. To write about human-like robot and to create a human-like robot is two different things. Correct.
So write a research paper
related to human-like robot.
Okay.
I don't know whether we change the LO totally. We macam like change it completely.
Yeah, because you're not sure like the nature of
the intention of that course, right? Yeah. Whatever lah, we just put lah.
Write a research paper about a human like robot. Okay. All right.
About a human-like robot, yeah. Students will be able to develop their concept more efficiently on paper. This one I know. Students will be able to to develop. Okay, I think develop should be fine, right?
Yeah.
To develop paper prototype to show their concept.
To
develop paper prototype to show their concept effectively. Something like that.
Okay, to show their concept effectively. Okay. Right, and next one, number 5 is tackle all related food and beverage aspects and issues.
Oh, this one again, food. So be able to tackle all related food, beverages, aspect and issue.
I think this one we have to change to like maybe analyze. Analyze.
Tackle is being used because they want the student to be able to handle all the related issues, right? That means they're able to identify first.
Identify the issues.
Identify.
More than that.
Yeah, it looks like they want them to, but in order to handle the issue, you first need to identify.
Correct. But maybe like analyzing or explaining can also show identification.
Okay,
like in order for them to do that,
the word analyze. We go to analyze.
Analyze all related food and beverage aspects. Maybe analyze food and beverage aspects related to the maybe Malaysian F&B Malaysian industry.
Yeah, in Malaysian context.
Something like that. Yeah. In the
something
Malaysian
like that.
context. Okay. Okay. Last.
Student will be able to understand how to apply Newton's law. Will be able to apply Newton's law, enough.
Apply.
No need to understand how.
Or maybe we can use like describe, then it will be like more specific.
What is the difference between apply and demonstrate?
Maybe demonstrate is just
to make something, right?
To show their understanding, then apply is maybe using the concept to
apply
solve something or.
So we just cancel all the words in between. Students are able to apply Newton's law.
Apply Newton's law. It feels like we need something because they're only three.
Yeah, don't know Newton's law to use it for what, man?
Yeah. Do they use it to calculate something? I'm not sure. Like Newton's law.
I asked Mr. Google first. How to apply Newton's
to calculate.
How do Newton's law apply to everyday life? Establish a science of kinetic. This law describes the relationship between motion of an object and the force acting on it.
Maybe we just put like to calculate the motion of an object or
student will be able to apply Newton's law in science of kinematics. I don't know. I send you this link, then
it is a formula, right? Like I think Newton's law is like a formula that you can use to calculate something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. I just put like to calculate. Okay, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, then we go back.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back. I hope you had a fruitful discussion. Are you ready to share? Okay, so let's look at the first one. Students will be able to learn the 3 principles of marketing. So what is your suggestion? Shall we have like group 1? Group 1 is actually Wai Xiong and Fiona's group. Okay, so what is your suggestion for that?
Our suggestion is to change the learn. So we'll be able to apply the 3 principles of marketing.
Okay.
Yes. So we did consider putting something at the back, but then it feels like quite restricting. And we were unsure of like the nature of the course itself.
Okay.
So we could, depending on the course, maybe it can be like in a business project or in a business plan.
Okay, all right, good try. Group 2?
We choose to change the word learn to explain, able to explain the 3 principles of marketing.
Okay, good try, good try. Right, let's look at the second one. Students will be able to cook pasta.
This one we use prepare, to prepare pasta with 3 basic sauces.
Okay, prepare, so to mean that they need to boil the pasta from that raw thing until on the plate.
Yes, presenting it on the plate, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, what about the other group?
We retain the word cook, but we change the pasta to spaghetti bolognese. Able to cook spaghetti bolognese.
Okay, interesting. So yours is more specified in that way, and theirs is 3 sauces, right?
Yes.
So that means to say that they will have to make 3. If they make 2, fail.
Yeah, because if this is just the lesson learning outcome, then it can be like to cook spaghetti bolognese. But then if it's a course, then they would be expected to do more than just that one type. So like the 3 basic sauces then can be continue like oil-based, tomato-based, cream-based.
Okay, good justification. Right, next one. Students will be able to know how to write a research paper and create a human-like robot.
So this was a bit tricky because we weren't sure what was the research paper for. So we said write a research paper about a human-like robot.
Write a research. So students will be able to write a research paper about a human-like robot. Okay, what about group 2? What do you think?
Okay, for group 2, we all decided to say able to write a 3,000 words research proposal on how to create a human-like robot.
Okay, good. So you have specified the standard 3,000 words, yeah? Okay, good, good, try, good. Right, next one. Students will be able to develop their concepts more efficiently on paper.
This one, we retain the word develop, but to develop a paper prototype to show their concept effectively.
So students will be able to develop
a paper prototype to show their concept effectively.
Paper prototype. Interesting. Paper prototype. Not too sure about this term paper prototype. How does it work? Okay, never mind. Let's listen to group 2.
Okay, so for this number 4, when we look at the questions, what we agreed upon was the students, they're supposed to present something, okay, effectively. So we changed this one to present a business entrepreneur concept effectively on paper.
Okay, so it's a written, it means it's that they are presenting a written work.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. You can also use the word write then. Instead of presenting, you can say write. For yours just now, you said paper prototype. Maybe you might want to use the word build. If it's a prototype, you know, but again, I'm not sure about this paper prototype, but usually prototype means we will be creating or we build.
But maybe Wai Xiong has that. I think she is in there.
Yeah, maybe I explain what is paper prototype. Okay, paper prototype can be used to show something that we want to build right before we actually building it. Okay, take for example, if I want to build a website, okay, before I actually build a website, I can build it on paper first, and then with all the colors that I want to use, I draw it on paper. Okay, where is the buttons and everything? How big is the button? I draw it on paper just to simulate on how the actual website is going to be like. That is actually what we ask the students to do before they actually build their website on the screen. Okay, so that is what we call the paper prototype. So because I saw the LO is like something on paper, so that's why I choose the word paper prototype for this LO.
Okay, all right.
I do not know whether this is actually what you meant when you write this sentence, but that is what I understood based on that lah.
Never mind, it's meant to be written as wrongly as vaguely as possible, so that you can.
Because normally when we ask students to do their concept on paper, we will label it as a paper prototype lah.
Okay, so I would think that then maybe a word for you all to use instead of develop, then maybe design or I don't know, draw. Would it be possible for you? It can be also create.
Okay, if we use the word draw, right, the students or the readers might misunderstood it as per I need to draw something very comprehensive. I need very good drawing skill to draw it, but paper prototype can be developed by anybody.
Yeah, so
boxes, it's just square and oval and shapes and colors to be used on the paper prototype.
So then I would suggest that you use the word design or create the prototype.
Yeah, can also.
All right, okay, thank you. Right, next one, students will be able to tackle all related food and beverage aspects and issues.
Okay, this one we changed the tackle to analyze. We'll be able to analyze food and beverage aspect in the Malaysian context.
Okay, right, good. What about group 2?
Group 2, we agreed to say able to list out solutions to solve F&B storage issues in restaurants.
Okay, good. So you have a Malaysian context and yours is more to restaurant and a lower level one, which is just listing. Okay, good one. Last one, students will be able to understand how to apply Newton's law.
This one we changed the understand to, we use apply, we retain the word apply. Apply Newton's law to calculate the motion of objects because we were not sure what Newton's law is. So
not from the science back.
Yeah, so I assume it's to calculate something. So yeah. Calculate something.
Okay. Group 2?
Okay, group 2, we said to apply Newton's law in designing experiment A.
Wow. So that will be a higher level kind of LO, yeah. Good try, everyone. Give yourself a clap. Well done. At least you all can see, you know, what's wrong with all these LOs, and then try to think about ways to actually write it in a more defined or measurable way. Okay, so with that, actually, I hope that you will have a chance to go back and look at your own courses, look at the CLOs, okay, and think about these things that we have gone through today. Do you think that they are well written or not? Okay, because CLOs are not like forever and ever one, yeah. Okay, doesn't mean that, oh, I got this course and then in the COPA it is like this already. So I just teach year in, year out, year in, year out, 10 years still using the same CLO. Should we be doing that? No, yeah, because remember earlier we talked about oh, we don't know whether we are meeting the industry needs or not, and then who should we get involved and all, right? Then things, you are saying that things change. What you do in university now maybe not applicable to be taught to your students for the current world today. So things keep changing. So CLOs are also something that we as lecturers, we need to be responsible. We need to reflect often to understand the needs of the current world and whether what we are teaching will be useful to them or not. Okay, all right. So if you think that if it's not relevant anymore, or maybe the CLOs are not correctly written and therefore you cannot measure, what should you do? What should you do?
Revise.
Revise. How to revise?
Curriculum review.
Okay.
Do a curriculum review. Revise.
Do a curriculum review. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So the process is usually quite straightforward. When you teach the whole semester, then you have your end of semester report, right? All right. And at the end of the semester, in the end of semester report is where you reflect. You look at the CLO achievement, right? There is one part you have to calculate. You look at it, and then you reflect the underachievement or good achievement or not so good achievement, and then you think about your CLOs also. And if at that point that you find that your CLO something wrong or whatever, usually you should write it. And then from there, it will lead to your curriculum review or your program committee. Okay, you need to then propose to the program committee to say that you would like to propose for this change, and of course you need to justify why you want to change. Yeah, and all these changes also you need to take note whether it's within the 30% or what is it that you're changing and all. The program committee then should be able to advise whether these changes are appropriate or not, or whether it's accepted or not before you can actually implement it in the coming semester. Okay, so you cannot simply just, oh, I don't like, I just change. Okay, or I don't like, but then I just don't follow lah. Not supposed to also, because then it will cause the CQI and everything to be something wrong, not accurate anymore, the measurement. Yeah. Okay. Great. So now, just some notes for you before I end the session. Take note that it is not compulsory for every CLO to have 3 learning domains, like I have mentioned just now already. Yeah. You don't need to, like you see this one, all the domains you put inside. No need, okay? You just need to have one will do. One domain, okay? This is cognitive, referring to the Bloom's one. And then this is matching to aligned to the PLO one. Okay? Do take note that there is the lots and the hots. Most of us, I know we are using the cognitive Bloom's taxonomy, right? You need to differentiate the lower order and the higher order. And please take note that when you write your CLOs in your document, your table 4, you need to have your lower level one first, then only the higher level. Which means, right, you see as CLO 1 is about explain, you know, right, is lower level, level 2. Okay, so when you order it in your table 4, your document, you should put this one as CLO1, not this one as CLO5. The way that you write it in your table 4, it should progressively go up. CLO1, then CLO2 more difficult, CLO3 more difficult, more difficult, more difficult. Not simply whatever you want to put, just simply order it. Okay, so do take note of this, yeah? Make sure you order it correctly. Okay. Right, just now we talked about the verb. Remember the 3 things? The verb, the condition, and the standard, right? For a good LO. Now, you need not necessarily have all the 3 in one CLO. I think just now when you were doing the writing, I asked you the activity to do, right? You also find that sometimes very hard to put in, right? Yeah, we do understand also. Sometimes it's not quite possible to have everything. So it's okay. But you must have the verb there, must always have the verb. Okay? Word plus the condition or word plus the standard. So here, design a curriculum based on the MQF and LJM standard. You can also write, design a bachelor in nursing, meeting complete MQF and LJM requirement, which is the verb, the condition, and also the standard. Both also are acceptable. Yeah? Okay. This is what just now, Fiona, you asked me. 2 words in the same CLO. This is called double barrel. Do not have such things because if you have double barrel, this one is triple already. State, define, and explain. Too many already inside. And so what if a student can state but cannot define and cannot explain? Does it mean that the student achieved the CLO? Not really also, but how to? But your CLO is written as one thing only. This one is either achieved or not achieved. So when you have so many inside, so how do you tell whether the student achieved or don't achieve? So avoid this, just take the highest one. Okay, so like I mentioned to you just now, these 2 can actually go into your LLO. If they are able to explain, they definitely can do these 2 already. And these 2 can be just in your LLO. You don't need to write it in your CLO. Right? Okay. So let's recap from the morning until now. What did we go through when talking about designing learning outcomes? So we talk about this thing, yeah, okay? These are the people or the sources who are involved in designing your what?
LO.
The LO, and also specifying your CO, okay? And from here, you will have your program outcomes and then your course outcomes. And you will have then your lesson outcomes written, okay? But when we talk about attaining the learning outcomes, just like that one is designing, yeah, okay? But when we talk about attaining the learning outcomes, it starts from the bottom of how you actually write your lesson learning outcome so that it can support the achievement of your course learning outcome and eventually your program outcomes. Okay, so as a lecturer, we not only need to focus on this, but we also need to understand the top down. Like you told me just now, oh, we need to understand the industry needs, you know, whether are we teaching the relevant thing or not. So we have to understand both sides, which is sometimes quite difficult. We are like stuck in the middle like that, right? Bottoms up and also top down also we have to know. Yeah, but that's the reality of our job. We got to understand everything so that we are really preparing our students for the future needs. Yeah. Okay. So outcome-based education, when talk about it, is a lot about measuring. Just now you told me about measuring your students' achievement, right? So you have your program outcomes there. You have all these things that tell you what is the program outcome. Then you have your student. How do you help them to achieve? You need to design your lesson outcome to help support your course outcome, eventually the program outcome, and hopefully also to achieve the PEO. Okay, right? Good LO must have 3 things. Can you remember what are the 3 things?
Verb, action verb, condition,
and
standard.
Verb, condition, and standard. Okay, so remember these 3 things, yeah? Verb, condition, and standard. So, how does the CLO help you? Or how does LO help you? Anyone? How does I thought I mentioned already. Oh, God. How does the LO help you?
To make sure that we are teaching what we intend, we're teaching for the intended outcome.
Okay. All right.
Something along those lines.
Okay, basically the LO is like your destination. Okay, it gives you the direction. Not simply just go to class and blah, 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 and then don't know where you're heading and all. Okay, so it gives you the clarity and the purpose of what or why you are doing what you're doing in your class. Gives you the direction. Yeah, so it helps you to plan your curriculum, plan your lesson, your activities that you want your students to do. It helps you select the correct strategies or methods to use. Like I mentioned just now, if your course is about helping students to learn how to come up with a project, yeah. So your methods must be able to get them to create projects, you know. So you might be doing a lot of brainstorming, group discussion, a lot of breakout rooms and all, and not just like always lecture kind of style. It will not work that way then. Okay. It also helps you to think about how you want to assess. So if you say that just now, what to write, what 5,000 word report and all, right? So your assessment must be them submitting a report to you, not a final exam and they sit down 3 hours, you know, or 1 hour, that sort of thing, not just MCQ questions and all. Yeah. And also it helps you to evaluate whether there are achieved or not, so that you can do some reflection and improve in the next semester. Yeah. Is it useful for the students?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Why? You're not saying, ayo, stressed, I'm just facing Michelle here all by myself. These people here all not answering the question. How does it help the students?
The students know specifically what they need to know.
Yes.
And therefore how to prepare for exam.
Of course, yeah, that's right. How to prepare for exam, how to score, right? And that's their main concern every time. First thing they come to class, first thing they just want to know, or the only thing that they want to know is, how am I graded? That's the only thing they want to know. The other things you tell them, they don't listen. Okay, which is in a way true, yeah. Okay, so it gives them the sense of direction of where they are going. It tells them what they need to achieve. Okay, it tells them that, hey, my lecturer said at the end of this lesson, I should be able to calculate this, you know. But then I still don't know how to calculate. So then the student will know, oh, I'm in trouble, I need to go and seek for help. Okay. If the students do not know your lesson learning outcome, go to class, sit and look at you, or do whatever activity you ask them to do, They also don't know, no sense. Do they learn what? Don't know. What are we supposed to learn? Don't know. Did I learn anything? Not sure also. Then at the end of the semester, that time then only they are like, what's happening? Yeah, exam coming, I don't know anything. That's because they don't have direction. They don't know what's going on. Okay, so the LOs are there not just to help us as the lecturers, but also to help the students, so they know what are expected of them. They know what is the level. Am I expected to just state or list, or am I expected to actually evaluate all these things or compare this to another thing? Okay, so that they know when they have achieved the outcomes. Like I said to you, if at the end of this lesson they are supposed to be able to do this, but they're not able to do, then they will know how to seek help from you. And of course, they will be able to employ appropriate learning strategies to achieve the outcomes. So let's say if you tell them that they need to, one of the learning outcomes, especially for those like teamwork and community, right? They need to learn how to work together in a team effectively. So they better learn, for some people who does not like to do teamwork, they better learn how to work in a team. So they need to learn how to employ certain strategies to communicate with people. If they're very introverted, how to talk to people, they've got to learn how to do it. Okay? Therefore, lastly, if we all agree and support OBE, okay, we understand this model, we should really think about how we need to teach in the classroom in order to help our students to achieve the LO. So I remember at the beginning just now, one of you wrote, it is not about what we want to teach the students. It is about how we help the students to achieve the outcomes. Okay, our job is to help the students to achieve the outcomes. And that's why I said OBE is very student-centered. It really removes us from being the knowledge provider to a person who facilitates their learning to help them learn. Okay, and that takes quite a bit of a mindset change. Yeah. Okay, I think it's also high time that we all change this mindset, that we cannot be we can never be the guru of everything, especially now you have Google everything, right? We don't know everything also, but our students can tell us more things. Yeah. So what we are doing, or what we should be striving to do, is to be what some people call it also as learning designers. We are designing the learning experience for our students, okay? Helping them to achieve these outcomes in life. We don't need to be the one who is providing them all the information, but we need to be able to tell them, look here, this is what you need to do, okay? These are the things that you need to find out, okay? Now go and find out. We don't necessarily need to be providing them everything. Okay, so do think clearly about this, on how we can help our students better to achieve their outcomes. Okay, so this was what we started with. Are you able to differentiate PO, PLO, CLO, LLO already? I asked you this question already, just now. 3 domains of learning, what are they? 3 domains of learning, what are they?
Affective, psychomotor.
Cognitive, psychomotor, and?
Affective.
Affective, okay. So what is cognitive about?
Knowledge.
Okay, the knowledge, the problem solving, the thinking skills, yeah. So psychomotor is about? Psychomotor is?
Doing, right?
The doing, okay. The physical skills, yeah, usually. And affective is?
Feeling, heart.
Feeling, the emotion, okay, the behavior. Yeah. So those are the 3 domains of learning. And then lastly, write appropriate learning outcomes, which you did at the final activity. And I can say that you all know how to write it already. But it's just now going back to your own courses, looking at your own courses and see whether the CLOs are relevant, valid, measurable. So with that, thank you very much for your patience, and I wish you all a great Friday and a great weekend, and happy Chinese New Year to those who are celebrating. To those who are not, happy holidays. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me? Feel free to ask. I'm still here.
Michelle, a quick question.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with this CLO, but like now you are doing hybrid, right? So that the camera keep moving left and right. Is it automated or somebody actually moving the camera left and right following you?
It's automated. I can show you. Yeah. Wait, let me turn on the other camera. Can you see?
It's a laptop. I see your laptop.
No, this is actually my tablet, my iPad.
Ah, okay.
This is my iPad, and the little thing here, this one is called it's called Swivel. It's like a robot. Wait, I'm trying to grab it. So it has this like I have this marker, but it's running out of battery already.
Okay.
Wait, can you see my marker here?
Yes. It's like like what you call it, like the keyless entry, the car keyless entry, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the marker. So it actually, when you see me holding it just now, so
yes.
whenever I walk, it will follow me.
I see. So it traces that thing lah.
Yeah, using this tracker here.
I see.
Yeah, but it's run out of battery already now.
So the camera is solely your iPad camera lah.
Yeah, that's my iPad camera, huh? Yeah, that's right. What you are seeing here, this one is my iPad.
Okay.
My iPad. Right. So yeah, but actually here there are like, I'm actually in 3 accounts. There is this board here.
Yeah, something like a big TV. I saw I can see the big TV. Yeah.
This is a smart board. So there's also another camera here actually, but I didn't turn it on. So if I turn on, then you will. No, I need to disconnect first. Sorry.
So it's a touch screen board lah. Okay.
Yeah, because this camera right now is connected to another camera, which is you see Fiona there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the camera. But if I don't connect to this external camera that is facing Fiona, then this camera will be like on me.
I see.
Yeah. So I'm also actually testing out to see, this whether this model works and how effective it is.
I see.
That's why I'm very happy that I see Fiona in my class, because I got like somebody to test it out with me,
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Shell.
No problem. I'll see you around.
All right. Happy Chinese New Year. Bye.
Happy Chinese New Year. Take good care. Stay safe. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much. Do you need me to help you? No, it's okay. IMC will be coming to wrap the thing. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope you are okay. Not